No. Don't you dare leave me now. Temilola's voice cracked through the sterile air of room 706. The sound of the heart monitor spiked, each beep slicing through the silence like sharp lightning cutting through a storm. Rain hammered against the window. The power flickered, once, twice, before the hospital generator kicked in with a groaning hum. Her trembling hands pressed the oxygen mask tighter over his face. Come on, Rowan. You've survived a car crash, a year in coma. You're not stopping now. Not tonight. 4 months. His stillness had been her constant companion, his unchanging face, his breath faint but steady, the rhythmic blip that told her he was still somewhere inside that unreachable world. But tonight felt different. His pulse raced beneath her fingers, wild and uneven. Sweat gathered on his forehead, glistening under the dim hospital light. And then, something impossible. His hand moved. Barely, but enough to make her gasp and stumble back. She stared, wide-eyed. His fingers twitched again, once, twice, and then his palm opened as if searching for something. Her heart slammed against her chest. No, 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 this can't, Rowan. And before she could finish, his hand found hers. Fingers cold, grip unsteady, but alive. He held her hand, tight. Hello family, welcome back. Before we continue, please, take a second to subscribe. Your support keeps stories like this alive. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Alright, let's continue. The monitors steadied, the beeps slowing into a rhythmic pulse again. Temilola's knees nearly buckled as she looked at the billionaire everyone had given up on, the man she'd spoken to for months though he never answered. His lips trembled. His eyes fluttered. And then, slowly, painfully, those long lashes lifted. She forgot to breathe. Brown eyes, clouded with confusion and faint light, met hers. For a full second, neither moved. The world shrank until only that look existed. Disbelief, relief, fear, and something she couldn't name. His voice came like gravel scraping through silence. Where am I? Her throat tightened. Zin Specialist Hospital. Lagos. You've been in a coma for... But she couldn't finish. Her own voice broke. She sank to her knees beside the bed, her tears mixing with his sweat. You're awake, she whispered, half to herself. You're really awake. Rowan's eyes darted around the room, confusion clouding them. Tubes, machines, sterile walls. His lips cracked when he tried to speak again, and she quickly reached for a cup of water, guiding it to him. Slowly, she said softly. You haven't used your voice in a long time. He took a sip. His gaze followed her, every movement deliberate, eyes studying her like a man searching for anchor in a storm. And in a way, she was that anchor. The nurse's station outside was a blur of motion when she stumbled out moments later. Doctor! He's awake. Rowan Adiwale is awake. The staff froze. For months, they had passed by room 706 with quiet pity. Everyone called it the silent room, a place where prayers had faded and hope had packed its bags. Now, hope had returned, breathing, blinking, alive. Within minutes, Dr. Farouk and his team flooded in. The room transformed into a rush of white coats and controlled chaos. Machines checked, vitals confirmed, questions asked. But even with the noise, the billionaire's eyes never left her. Every time she stepped back, he followed her with his gaze. And when she finally left the room, his hand reached weakly toward the air, as if searching for her again. The rain had stopped when she finally stepped outside the ward, the air thick with Lagos humidity. She leaned against the wall, exhaustion washing over her in waves. Her heart refused to calm. A year. A full year. She'd been told not to waste her time, that billionaires like Rowan Adiwale had people, lawyers, assistants, family, who only cared until the press forgot. But she couldn't stop caring. She remembered the first night she saw him. Room 706 had been dim, a faint scent of antiseptic and cold air filling the suite. The bed looked more like a shrine than a patient's cot, monitors softly blinking beside a man who looked carved from stone. His skin was pale under the sterile lights. A faint scar crossed his temple, vanishing into his hair. Temilola had whispered then, like speaking into prayer, "You don't know me, but maybe you can still hear me." Every night after, she talked to him. About the hospital, her long shifts, the funny things patients said, how Lagos traffic felt like punishment for sins she didn't remember committing. Sometimes she even played gospel softly from her phone, just to fill the silence. And somewhere between those endless nights and early mornings, she began to care. When she returned to his room later that night, Rowan was awake, barely sitting up with the doctor's help. The 4 lines trailed from his arm, his breath slow and shallow, but his eyes, they followed her again. "You're the nurse," he whispered. She nodded. "Temilola Adebayo, but you can call me Lola." A faint smile tugged his lips. "Lola," he repeated, as if tasting the name. "You've been talking to me." Her cheeks warmed. "So you did hear?" "Not everything," he murmured, voice hoarse, "but enough." She bit her lip, unsure whether to laugh or cry. "You've been asleep for a year. I thought that I'd never wake up," he finished, eyes locking onto hers. She nodded, breath catching. His gaze softened. "Then maybe I woke up for you." Her heart thudded so loudly she swore he could hear it. The next morning, when she walked into room 706, sunlight poured through the blinds, touching everything in gold. Rowan was awake, sitting up straighter this time. The color had returned to his face. "Good morning, Miss Lola," he said, voice rough but lighter. She smiled. "You sound stronger already." "Because I had a good nurse," he said simply. And when she laughed, a small, surprised sound, something inside him shifted again. For a man who'd been silent for 12 months, that laugh sounded like life itself. But even as the light filled the room, shadows lingered. Outside, in the hallway, a man in a dark suit stood watching through the glass, expression unreadable. He turned, phone pressed to his ear, voice low and sharp. "He's awake," he said quietly. "Yes. I'll handle it." No, easy now, Mr. Adewale." Temilola's voice carried a mix of panic and laughter as Rowan's legs buckled for the third time that morning. He grimaced, sweat glistening on his forehead, both hands gripping the walker like a lifeline. "I swear this thing is possessed," he muttered between breaths. "It hates me." Lola chuckled, stepping closer to steady him. "It's not the walker that hates you, sir. It's your legs reminding you they've been asleep for a year." He shot her a mock glare. "You enjoy this, don't you?" "Only a little," she teased, eyes sparkling. "Now breathe, one more step. Just one." He tried again, one shaky step forward, the muscles in his arms trembling from effort. The sound of his slippers scraping the tile filled the quiet physiotherapy room. When he finally reached the end of the mat, he let out a breathless laugh. "That's it? That's your version of victory?" "That's my version of a miracle," she said softly. Something in her voice made him stop joking. He looked at her, really looked, the gentle lines of exhaustion on her face, the determination in her eyes, the faint sheen of sweat across her forehead. She wasn't just any nurse, she was the reason he was standing. Later that afternoon, the hospital cafeteria buzzed faintly with low chatter. Lola sat alone by the window, a half-eaten meat pie growing cold on her tray. Her mind wasn't in the room, it was still in room 706. She'd seen many patients in her career, but none like Rowan Adewale. Billionaire or not, he had this quiet way of speaking that made her listen. Even when he struggled to find words, his gaze was clear, searching, grateful. The other nurses whispered whenever she passed. "Can you imagine? The billionaire's awake because of her." "Abeg, maybe it's love that woke him." Lola pretended not to hear. She didn't believe in fairy tales. She believed in prayer, in mercy, in small miracles, but not love stories between nurses and billionaires. Those belonged in movies, not hospital corridors smelling of disinfectant and rain. Still, she couldn't deny the warmth that crept into her chest whenever he smiled. In room 706, Rowan sat upright in bed, a tablet propped against his knees. The news headlines blared his name. Adewale Empire in crisis, Rowan still missing in action. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was alive, awake, but the world still thought him gone. He sighed. When the door creaked open, he looked up to see her. "Working overtime again?" he asked. "Someone has to keep you alive," she replied, checking his chart. "Tell me, Nurse Lola," he said, lowering the tablet. "Why did you stay?" "For a whole year. Everyone else stopped visiting." She didn't answer immediately. Her hands moved efficiently, checking the 4, noting vitals. When she finally spoke, her voice was low. "Because you reminded me of my brother," she said. "He was in an accident years ago. Never woke up. I couldn't save him. Maybe I thought, if I could save you, it would make peace with that." The silence stretched between them, tender and heavy. Rowan's eyes softened. "Then I'm glad you didn't give up on me." She smiled faintly, trying to hide the emotion rising in her throat. "I almost did, some nights. But then I'd see your heartbeat on the monitor and think, maybe someone's still fighting from the inside." He exhaled slowly. "Then maybe it was your voice I was hearing." The next few weeks turned into a rhythm neither expected. Morning physiotherapy. Afternoon checkups. Evening tea by the window. Rowan insisted she join him, even if just for a few minutes. At first, she refused. It wasn't professional. But he had a way of convincing people without saying much. Soon, it became their quiet ritual. He'd sit by the window, city lights flickering in the distance, and she'd sip tea from a paper cup, talking about everything from her mother's cooking to the Lagos floods. Sometimes, he'd just listen. Other times, he'd ask questions. What made you become a nurse? What does faith mean to you? Do you ever get tired of helping people who can't help you back? And she'd answer, honestly, "It's not about what they can do for me," she said one night. "It's about being the reason someone still has hope." He smiled at that. "You sound like the kind of woman I used to think didn't exist anymore." She looked away, heart pounding. "And you sound like a man who says too many dangerous things." But not every moment was peaceful. There were nights when Rowan woke up screaming, fragments of memory cutting through his sleep, screeching tires, headlights, the sound of glass shattering. Lola would rush in, hold his shoulders, whisper until his breathing slowed. "It's okay," she'd say softly. "You're safe now." Each time, his shaking hands found hers, gripping tightly like an anchor. And each time, she stayed until he drifted back to sleep. It was during one of those nights that he whispered, eyes half open, "You don't even know me, and yet, you're the only person I trust." Her chest tightened. "Then rest. You can trust me enough to sleep." Weeks later, his strength returned enough for him to walk unaided. The doctors called it a miracle. He called it Lola. He asked for outdoor clearance, to see the garden. Dr. Farouk agreed, on condition she accompany him. The evening air was heavy with the scent of hibiscus and rain-soaked earth. They walked slowly, Rowan leaning lightly on a cane. The sky blushed with sunset over the hospital wall. "I never thanked you," he said after a while. "You don't have to," she replied. "I do. You gave me back my life." She smiled. "I only helped you find it again." He stopped walking, turning to her. His gaze was steady, sincere. "Lola, when I woke up, the first thing I saw was your face." That moment, he hesitated. "It's something I can't forget." Her pulse skipped. She looked away, pretending to adjust her badge. "You were probably still half dreaming." "Maybe," he said quietly. "But if it was a dream, I don't ever want to wake up from it." They sat together on the bench. The hospital lights glowed behind them, distant and soft. She folded her hands on her lap, fighting the warmth rising to her cheeks. For a long moment, neither spoke. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was alive, breathing with something unspoken. Then his voice broke through, low and rough. "You know, the night before the accident, I remember arguing with someone. My brother, maybe. Everything else is blurry." "Don't force it," she said gently. "Memories will return when they are ready." He nodded, but the tension in his jaw betrayed him. "Sometimes I feel like I wasn't supposed to wake up." She turned to him, eyes bright even in the dim light. Then maybe fate changed its mind. Their eyes met. A beat of silence. Then he smiled faintly. "You really believe that?" "I have to," she said. "Faith is the only medicine I can afford." He laughed softly, and she found herself smiling too. Later that night, back in her small one-room apartment, Lola lay awake staring at the ceiling fan creaking above her. The echo of his voice replayed in her mind. "Maybe I woke up for you." She pressed a pillow to her chest, trying to silence the strange ache forming inside her. This was wrong. He was her patient. A billionaire. She was a nurse barely making enough to cover rent. Nothing good could come of this. But her heart didn't listen to logic. If you've come this far, family, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, because through every story we tell, we remind the world that kindness still matters. Drop a comment, tell us where you're watching from, and let's keep spreading hope together. Back at the hospital, a shadow lingered again outside room 706. The man in the dark suit, same one from before, spoke quietly into his phone. Yes, he's recovering fast, but he's asking questions. Too many. A pause. Then, don't worry. He won't remember the truth, not yet. He ended the call, turned, and disappeared into the rain. Inside, Rowan slept peacefully for the first time in months, unaware that his awakening had only just begun. Stop fighting it, Rowan. Please, just breathe. Lola's voice trembled through the darkness as Rowan jolted upright, drenched in sweat. The storm outside thrashed against the hospital windows, Flashes of lightning painted his face in sharp streaks of white. He pressed his palms to his temples. The same dream, again. Lola stepped closer, heart racing. What do you see? Headlights. A dark SUV. And someone watching me before the crash. He trailed off, eyes darting toward the rain-streaked glass. But every time I reach that moment, it fades. Like someone's erasing it from my mind. She laid a hand gently on his shoulder. You've come far, Rowan. Don't push too hard tonight. Come, lie back. He shook his head. I can't. I need air. Before she could stop him, he swung his legs off the bed and reached for his cane. The monitors beeped wildly in protest. Mr. Adewale. Please, he said softly, turning to her. Just a walk. I promise I won't go far. Something in his tone, equal Pat's desperation and gentleness, made her relent. She grabbed her umbrella and followed him into the night. The hospital garden shimmered with raindrops. Lamps cast halos of gold through the mist. The scent of wet earth and jasmine filled the air. Rowan walked slowly along the path, the cane tapping rhythmically against the stones. His hospital robe clung slightly to his frame. Rain had darkened it to a deeper blue. Everyone calls it a miracle, he said, voice low. But what if I wasn't supposed to wake up? Lola frowned. Don't say that. He turned toward her, water dripping from his hair. I mean it. Sometimes I think I came back by mistake. She stepped closer, her umbrella barely shielding them both. Then maybe fate corrected its mistake. Maybe you woke up because you still have something left to do. Their eyes met. Rain pattered softly between them, 1,000 tiny heartbeats. He smiled faintly. You really believe that, don't you? I have too, she whispered. If I stop believing, I'll stop breathing. For a moment, the world held still. The rain slowed. The night hushed around them. Rowan's hand lifted almost without thought, fingers brushing against her cheek. The touch was light, reverent, as if afraid she might disappear. Lola's breath caught. She should have stepped back. She didn't. His thumb traced a faint line near her jaw, gentle as a whisper. Their faces were close enough for her to feel his uneven breath, for him to smell the faint scent of mint from her lip balm. You make me feel alive again, he said, his voice barely more than a tremor. She shook her head slowly, though her heart pounded in her chest. You shouldn't say that. Then tell me to stop looking at you, he murmured. She couldn't. Lightning flashed, silver against their faces. For one suspended heartbeat, he leaned in, close enough that their foreheads brushed. Their breathing mingled, the air thickened with something deeper than words. Then, trembling, she pulled away. Rowan, she whispered, eyes glistening. Please. He lowered his hand, guilt flickering across his features. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. You didn't do anything wrong, she said quickly, steadying herself. It's just complicated. The rain softened to a drizzle. Silence stretched between them, gentle, painful, necessary. Back inside, she helped him change into dry clothes. Her fingers brushed against his wrist while adjusting his sleeve, and the contact sent a jolt through both of them. Neither spoke about it. When he finally lay back down, she turned to leave. Lola, he said quietly. She paused at the door. Thank you for not walking away. She smiled faintly. I couldn't, even if I tried. Later that night, long after he'd fallen asleep, Lola sat alone in the nurse's lounge. The storm outside had calmed, but her mind hadn't. She kept replaying that moment, the warmth of his hand, the look in his eyes, the way time had stopped between them. You make me feel alive again. She pressed a hand against her chest, trying to quiet the wild rhythm beneath her palm. It wasn't right. She was a nurse. He was her patient. But the heart rarely respected boundaries drawn by reason. To distract herself, she turned on her computer to update his records. That's when she noticed a locked folder in his file, one she'd never seen before. It was marked Confidential, Accident Report. Her curiosity prickled. After a few tries, she managed to open it. Inside were photos, twisted metal, shattered glass, and one line of typed police notes that froze her blood cold. Brake system tampered before crash. Evidence suggests deliberate sabotage. Her eyes widened. No, it can't be. She scrolled further. There were reports of missing financial data, internal disputes within Adewale Holdings, and an anonymous call warning of foul play the night before the accident. Lola's hands trembled as she printed the file and stuffed it into her folder. Someone had tried to kill Rowan, and whoever it was, didn't know he had woken up. The next morning, Rowan was quiet during their routine checkup. His eyes searched hers, as though sensing her unease. "Something's wrong," he said finally. "I can see it on your face." Lola hesitated. "I just didn't sleep well." He studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Neither did I." She forced a small smile, but her thoughts were miles away. Every shadow outside the window felt heavier now. Every stranger in the hallway looked suspicious. Someone had wanted Rowan gone. And if they found out he was alive? No. She couldn't let fear take over. Not now. She glanced back at him, still recovering, still fragile, completely unaware of the danger circling him. She made a silent promise to herself, if the world tries to hurt him again, they'll have to go through me first. That night, as she prepared to leave, Rowan called her name. "Lola." She turned. "I don't know if I should say this," he said quietly, "but when I look at you, I feel safe. Like maybe I'm not meant to face whatever's coming alone." Her throat tightened. She wanted to tell him everything, about the report, the danger, but something stopped her. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was love disguised as protection. So she smiled gently and said, "You're not alone. Not anymore." Their eyes lingered, longer than they should have, before she turned off the light and left. Outside the hospital, in a black SUV parked beneath a flickering streetlight, the same suited man watched room 706 through binoculars. He saw the nurse leave, saw the lights dim. He made a quick call. "Yes. He's awake. And she's getting too close." The voice on the other end replied coldly, "Then it's time we finish what we started." The man's jaw tightened. He dropped the phone and started the engine. Inside the hospital, Rowan stirred in his sleep, his hand searching the empty space beside the bed where hers had been moments ago. He remembers. Lola's whisper burst from her lips before she even realized she'd spoken. Rowan's eyes were wide, glassy, fixed on the ceiling as flashes of memory tore through him. He had been eating breakfast quietly when the mug slipped from his hand, shattering across the tiled floor. "Headlights," he gasped. "The bridge, rain, my brother's voice." He said, "You should have stayed in America." Then the brakes failed. "Rowan." She caught his arm before he collapsed back against the chair. His chest heaved, sweat tracing the line of his throat. "It wasn't an accident," he said hoarsely. "Someone wanted me gone." Lola swallowed hard. "I know." He turned sharply. "You know?" She hesitated only a heartbeat before pulling the envelope from her bag, the printed files she'd hidden since that stormy night. "I found this in your records. The report says your brake system was tampered with." Rowan stared at the papers as if they might burn him. His voice broke when he spoke. "No, sir." Lola blinked. "Your brother?" He nodded slowly, pain etched deep in his eyes. "Half-brother. We built the company together after my parents died. But when I decided to make him account for missing funds, he said I was destroying the family. I didn't want to believe he'd go that far." Lola reached for his hand. "Then believe the truth now, and don't face it alone." He looked at her fingers curled around his, small, warm, certain. "What would I do without you?" She smiled faintly. "Fall over your walker again, probably." He laughed then, the sound breaking the tension like light through cloud. They met that evening with Dr. Farouk in the office overlooking the hospital parking lot. Rowan's decision was clear. "I want the police involved," he said. "But first, I need proof strong enough to bury any denial." Lola suggested the one place Nosa could never resist, a show of victory. "Invite him to the mansion. Tell him you're resigning from the company." Rowan nodded slowly. "A trap." "Justice," she corrected. The mansion in Ikoyi hadn't changed, marble floors, the smell of imported polish, the echo of wealth that once filled its halls. As the staff prepared tea, Rowan's heart drummed louder than the rain outside. "You don't have to be here," he told her. "I want to be," she said. Her voice was calm, but her hand trembled slightly when she adjusted his tie. It was the first time he'd worn one since waking, navy blue silk, gold-plated clip, a faint scent of cedar. "You look like a man who came back from the grave," she whispered. "Maybe I did." Their eyes held for a breath too long before footsteps echoed from the corridor. Nosa entered with that same confident stride Rowan remembered, expensive cologne, easy grin hiding sharper edges. "Brother," he said smoothly, "you're alive. Miracles do happen." "Indeed they do," Rowan replied, gesturing to the seat across from him. They exchanged small talk that tasted of poison, questions laced with mock concern. Then Rowan slid a file across the table. "Recognize these numbers? Your signature on the offshore account transfers." Nosa's smile stiffened. I don't know what you're talking about. The police will, Rowan said quietly. From the hallway, uniformed officers stepped in. Nosa's face drained of color. You set me up. Rowan's voice stayed calm. You tried to kill me. I simply invited justice to dinner. As the handcuffs clicked, Nosa turned a last venomous glance at Lola. So the nurse taught the billionaire how to fight back. Careful, love, he'll tire of you soon. Lola didn't flinch. Maybe. But at least I won't live my life destroying the people who cared. They led him away. The door closed. Silence settled like dust after a storm. Rowan's shoulders sagged. Months of anger, fear, and disbelief drained out all at once. His breath came uneven. It's over, he murmured. He's gone. Lola moved closer, unsure what to do. Then instinct overruled hesitation. She reached up, smoothing the crease between his brows. You did the hard pat, she said softly. Now you can heal. He looked down at her hand resting on his chest, over the steady beat of his heart. Lola. Her name came out like a prayer. Before she could answer, he pulled her gently closer. No urgency, just certainty. His forehead rested against hers. She could feel his breath, warm and trembling, mingling with her own. Thank you, he whispered. Her fingers brushed the side of his neck, feeling the life pulsing there. You don't have to thank me. I do, he said, voice rough. Because you saw me when I was gone. The space between them disappeared. His lips met hers, soft and hesitant, a promise rather than a conquest. It lasted only a moment, but carried everything they'd both left unsaid. When they parted, her eyes were bright with unshed tears. You're the only one who saw me when I was gone, he repeated. Then don't lose sight of me now, she answered quietly. Days later, news of Nosa's arrest filled the airwaves. Social media called it the Lagos miracle. Reporters crowded the hospital gates, but Rowan refused interviews. I'll speak when the story ends in peace, he told them. He spent his evenings in the garden, no longer haunted by dreams. Lola often joined him, bringing tea and laughter. They talked about everything, faith, family, the strange road that had brought them together. Sometimes, silence said more than words. One night he asked, Do you ever wonder why people meet? She smiled. Maybe because God gets bored watching us walk alone. He laughed, the sound echoing through the garden lights. Then I'm glad he decided to introduce me properly. But peace never stays untested. A final message arrived on Rowan's phone one quiet morning. You think it's over. It's never over. He stared at it for a long time before locking the screen. Lola noticed the tension in his jaw. Bad news. He shook his head slowly. Maybe just a reminder. A reminder of what? That miracles need protecting, he said, then reached for her hand. And I intend to protect mine. She squeezed his fingers back, her smile small but certain. Then we protect it together. That night, as they left the garden, the wind carried the faintest scent of rain. Rowan glanced upward and whispered, almost to himself, For the first time, the storm doesn't scare me. Lola looked up too. That's because this time, you're not facing it alone. You look nervous, Mr. Adiwale. Rowan laughed under his breath, straightening the collar of his crisp white shirt. The rooftop terrace of his newly restored Victoria Island penthouse glowed with candlelight. Lagos stretched beneath them, silver water, scattered lights, the hum of traffic that never quite slept. Maybe I am, he said. You'd think facing death would make me brave, but tonight my hands won't stop shaking. Lola smiled as she adjusted the table setting, a small vase of yellow lilies, his favorite. You'll be fine. You've been through worse. He looked at her, eyes full of quiet awe. That's exactly the problem. You keep making the worst look worth surviving. The dinner was simple, grilled tilapia, fried plantain, jollof rice that shimmered red beneath the candles. Wind tugged softly at her hair, and the scent of roasted peppers drifted from the kitchen below. They ate in companionable silence, the kind that only grows between people who've already said everything important without words. When the plates were cleared, Rowan leaned back, looking out over the city. Do you remember the night I woke up? How could I forget? She said, laughing softly. You scared me half to death. I remember your voice first, he said, before I opened my eyes. You were begging me not to go. She looked down, embarrassed. I didn't even realize you could hear me. I could. Maybe that's why I came back. Her eyes met his then, steady and full of light. You came back because God wasn't done writing your story. He smiled. Maybe he sent you to finish the last chapters. A soft drizzle began, tiny drops that glimmered in the candlelight. Instead of rushing for shelter, they stayed, the rain cooling the warm night air. Rowan rose slowly and walked around the table. He reached into his pocket and dropped to one knee. Lola froze. "Rowan, what are you doing?" He opened a small velvet box. Inside, a gold band gleamed, simple and elegant. "When I was asleep, I lost everything that mattered," he said quietly. "But when I woke up, you were there. You held my hand before I even knew who you were. And somehow, that became home." Tears welled in her eyes. "Temilola Adebayo," he continued, voice trembling. "Will you marry me?" She pressed a hand to her mouth, laughter and sobs colliding in her throat. "Yes," she whispered, then louder, "Yes. 1,000 times yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger. The candles flickered, the rain turned to mist, and somewhere below, Lagos horns sang their endless hymn of life. Weeks later, the chapel at St. Patrick's overflowed with light. Friends, hospital staff, and family filled the pews. Even Dr. Farouk wiped at his eyes when the organ began to play. Lola walked down the aisle in a soft ivory dress, her veil edged with the same lace she'd once used to mend a patient's torn gown. Rowan waited at the altar in a navy suit, a calm smile breaking through his nerves. When she reached him, he took her hands, whispering, "I still can't believe you're real." "Believe it," she whispered back. "You're wide awake." The priest smiled knowingly. "Then let's keep him that way." Laughter rippled through the church. Later, at the reception, laughter filled the air, high-life music, clinking glasses, people dancing barefoot on the floor. Memar Aid, the hospital cook, proudly announced she'd made the small chops. The twins from Ward B2 scattered confetti everywhere. In the middle of the crowd, Rowan and Lola swayed together, slow and close. "Do you ever miss the hospital?" he asked, voice low against her ear. "Sometimes," she said, "but I prefer this patient. He listens when I talk." He chuckled softly. "That's because I know better than to argue with the woman who saved my life." Months passed. The world moved on from the headlines, but their story remained, retold in beauty salons, cafes, and Sunday gatherings. Lola continued volunteering at the hospital part-time, training young nurses. Rowan launched a foundation for accident survivors, naming it the 706 Hope Trust. Every evening, they met on that same rooftop. Some nights, they watched the city lights without speaking. Other nights, they talked until dawn. One evening, as twilight wrapped the skyline, Rowan turned to her. "Do you ever wonder if we were supposed to meet earlier in life?" She smiled. "No. If we had, you'd have been too proud to notice me, and I'd have been too busy saving everyone else." He laughed softly. "Then I'm grateful for every wrong turn that brought me here." The call to prayer drifted faintly from the mainland, mingling with the hum of traffic. Lola leaned her head on his shoulder. "Do you still dream about the accident?" she asked. "Not anymore," he said. "Now I only dream about what's next." A light breeze lifted her veil of hair. He looked down at her, no longer as a patient or a miracle, but as a woman who had become his heartbeat. "You know what I've realized," he said. "What?" "That the richest thing a man can own isn't an empire. It's peace, and you brought mine back." She smiled. "Then hold on to it." He wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her gently close. The night air smelled of salt and rain, the city below alive and endless. Love isn't about timing or wealth. It's about the one who stays when staying hurts. When Rowan Adiwale lost everything, Temilola Lola Adebayo stayed. And in the end, it wasn't money that saved him, it was love, pure and awake. The camera fades out on the rooftop terrace, candles flickering, laughter echoing, and the skyline glowing like a promise kept.